So you've probably been hard at work creating a lot of content for your blog or your video channel or perhaps your podcast. No matter what it is, one of the hardest things to do is to continue to create that content knowing there's not very many people on the other end who are consuming it. So we got a question in today from Ben who is asking about just this.
Hey Pat, Ben here, and my wife and I have a podcast called Breaking Español where we talk about our journey learning Spanish. We've been doing it for about a year, and one of the challenges we struggle with is how do people find podcasts and what can we do to kind of maximize and make sure anybody interested in learning Spanish and those kind of things finds our podcast.
So it's great that you're creating content, but how do you get found? Well, for podcasting specifically, there's a number of ways that discovery happens. Number one, iTunes, just like Google, just like YouTube, it's a search engine. So making sure that the content you create does include keywords in the title and in the description of those things will ensure that down the road when the algorithms play in your favor, you will get discovered for those keywords related to what people are searching. Now, in terms of what keywords to include and what content to create, always make sure that you are trying your best to answer people's questions wherever they might be putting those in. So you can do some research into forums, you can do some research on Google to find what kind of related keywords people are typing in. You might even also use sites like Answer the Public, which actually gives you a database of all the questions that people are typing related to your particular topic. So that's search, but let's think about how other ways you might be discovered. What else might a person be doing right before they discover your show? Well, they might be scrolling through some sort of ranking system or, some library of a bunch of other shows or videos or blogs that are similar to yours. So you're gonna have to ask yourself, well, what's gonna stop a person from continuing and scrolling beyond your show or your video? So for podcasting specifically, think about it. So even before people actually listen to your show, they first see the graphics, the cover art for your show. And that's gonna be really important. So you might wanna do some research to make sure that in the space that you're in the categories that you actually place yourself, you wanna make sure that your artwork stands out. In addition to that, it's obviously the title of the show and also the description that people see and read before they actually listen. On YouTube, it's very similar. Think about it. It's the thumbnails typically that capture people's attention, which is why so much of the work that is put into a great video is actually what lives on that thumbnail. So we talked about search and we talked about visually what things look like to stop people while they are scrolling through. Really important, you also need to utilize your own website. A lot of websites don't actually do a great job of sharing the other kinds of media that they have beyond their blog content. So if you have a podcast, you also have a responsibility to let people know on your website that you have this podcast. If they join your email list, let them know it exists. On the sidebar of your website, at the bottom of your blog posts, for example, you need to be promoting your podcast too. They're there, they like the content, give them another way to consume what you have to offer. Now, all that stuff we just talked about is great, but probably the biggest thing you can do that'll get you the most viewers or listeners or subscribers in the shortest period of time is to utilize other audiences that already exist by building a relationship or connecting with, in some way, shape, or form, the influencers who have already earned the trust of those audiences. So Ben, for example, for your Spanish-speaking podcast, you might wanna try and be a guest on another language-related podcast that's out there. You might have some really interesting insights that you and your wife have learned through this learning process that you can offer for them and their audiences. So it's not just you getting exposure from getting on their show, but it's also you offering value in exchange for having a little bit of exposure to their audience. Now, starting with other podcasters, since you have a podcast yourself, is gonna be great because those audiences already know the podcasting world and they can easily subscribe to your show too. But that said, you don't have to just stick with podcasting. Maybe you can be a guest on another person's blog. You can do a guest blog post, or perhaps you can get on another person's video channel if you have that capability. Now, a lot of people who are getting into the podcasting space are also experimenting with advertising. So they're using Facebook, for example, to highly target audiences that are of their audience type. So you can get very specific with the kind of ads that you can do. And there's a few things that can actually work. You can perhaps have a guest on your show and then target people who follow that guest. So if it's sort of an A-lister or an influencer in your space, and you know that a lot of people follow this person, you can even target them to show ads for that podcast episode where you interviewed that person. Because they like that person, they're gonna go listen, and it just so happens that you're the one that interviewed them. A lot of podcasters are also doing the opposite. So perhaps if you become a guest on an influencer show, you can pay that influencer to boost those posts on Facebook. And again, you're utilizing the trust that they've earned with their audience and the reach that they have. And because they are promoting their show to their people, you are likely gonna be listened to a little bit more than you did if you didn't do that. So another group of influencers that you could reach out to, which is really smart because they're less likely to be reached out to and are more likely to say yes, are forum or group owners, meaning Facebook group owners or LinkedIn group owners, for example. And think about it. If you go to Facebook and type in, for example, learning Spanish, you're likely going to see a number of communities of people who are together and staying together to learn Spanish, right? And to keep each other motivated and hold each other accountable for that. There are admins to those groups who you could find just simply by clicking into those groups. You don't even have to join them yet. Reach out to those people, see how you might be able to feature them in some way or feature their community, because when that happens and you make them look like a hero, for example, they're gonna be more likely to share that episode to those communities who they've already earned trust with. And that way you're able to get in front of communities that already exist through the trust and the admins for that group. And finally, and you've all heard this before, no matter what kind of content you create epic content. Stuff that people can't help but talk about and share, because guess what? Word of mouth is the most powerful form of marketing. As Mark Zuckerberg says, there's no better recommendation than one that comes from a friend, right? And so when a person listens to your show and it's so great and they've learned so much from it, for example, they can't help but share that with somebody else who they know has the same problem or wants to accomplish the same goals. So make great stuff, which I'm sure you are, Ben, and I'm sure most of you who are watching this are, but just as a reminder for you, create great stuff, because when you offer that, word of mouth happens, and that's how you continue to grow, and you build raving fans over time, and you're gonna build this long-lasting business that will continue to grow and serve you and have you serve them too. So final piece of advice. Beyond the stuff that just should be done, the foundational stuff such as the cover art, the description, the titles, having keywords in there, search engine optimization, etc. Once that's all taken care of, what I would recommend is for these other strategies, these reach outs and connecting with other people, pick one strategy to focus on and just focus and master that. You could drive yourself crazy doing all these different things, but only putting half effort into each of them. Put your full effort into one of those channels or strategies, and you're gonna see results. Hey, and really quick, if you wanna hear more interaction between me and people in my audience, people like you, head on over to askpat.com. You can listen to my podcast there, where once a week I coach somebody through a pain or a problem they're having in their business, and it's all open. You can hear it all. And so subscribe today, askpat.com. And again, thank you so much for watching.